but I remember even less about them. The musty smell of my grandmother's dresses, my grandfather's scratchy kisses. I have pictures of them holding me up like a prize fish, the two of them smiling wide, proud and triumphant. We returned to Toronto and they died before I had the chance to meet them again. Before we left for my father's funeral, my mother told me that in his will, he had a will? He'd requested that his body be buried in his family's tomb. Tomb? In Athens. She asked me gently if I minded. I was a kid, and my father had just died, and I don't know if she truly thought I was capable of giving her a rational answer, no matter how carefully she asked. I didn't say what I was thinking, which was that I was worried that it would be lonely for him in Greece, that there would be no one around to visit. I didn't ask her if having a family tomb meant I'd have to be buried there too. I wondered what it meant to be buried, if it mattered where you were, ultimately. When I told Mom that it was okay, it was for her sake and not mine. It was the answer she wanted to hear, and besides, the decision had already been made, so there was no use making it more complicated. I don't know if I'll visit Greece again. I don't think my mother wants to return, and the thought of going on my own, without someone to guide me or translate the language, is intimidating. My father never taught me Greek. Mom didn't speak it, and when I was younger, he didn't see any point in me learning. It wasn't necessary in Canada. It seeped in small increments anyway. I'd listen to my father when he called my grandparents and became accustomed to the lilt of the language. Soon after he died, I wanted to learn it, though, as if it might bring me closer to him. I sat down with a book called Learn Greek in 3 months and fell behind when it took me too long to memorize the alphabet. For hours, I would sit and practice writing out the letters, learning the new symbols. In Greek, there are 2 letters that make the O sound. There's omicron, which looks like the Roman alphabet O, and there's omega, which in lowercase looks like a little rounded W. Usually, the omega will come at the end of the word, while the omicron will be the O buried in the middle. But this isn't a hard and fast rule. In my name, Zoe, the O in the middle is omega, not omicron. Zoe. I remember being satisfied that my short name had 2 alphabet endings, the Roman Z and Greek omega. A few times after my father died, I would walk into a room and find my mother crying. The first time I caught her was in the kitchen over breakfast, and I had no idea what to say, so I didn't say anything. Zoe, she said, do you know that your name means life? I shook my head. Your father picked it. Your grandmother was so mad when he didn't name you after her. He'd promised he was going to. I didn't know that, I said. But I did. My father loved this story and would tell it to me often. Normally I'd cut him off, bored by my familiarity with the anecdote. But this time, my mother telling me the story and looking so sad, I pretended I didn't know, that it was the first time I'd ever heard it. Maybe it isn't hard to keep important information from the people you love. You just meet at a comfortable halfway point of truth and semi-truth. Maybe it's better to know less than it is to know more, or at least act like it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
1. Niko. I've always been good at leaving. I left Athens when I was 23, and while the lead-up had been difficult, studying, worrying about money, mandatory army service, by the time it came to leave, I was ready. I showed up at the airport 4 hours early, and while waiting, I realized that I was no longer seized with panic about my future. Jacqueline Kennedy had recently married Aristotle Onassis, and my mother thought it was a good omen, as if the union of a Greek shipping magnate and a beloved American president's widow had a bearing on my life abroad. I dismissed it at first, but when I landed in the United States, the first newspaper article I saw was about them, and for once, I thought my mother was right. It was a good sign.